I'm here with Envy's Apollo, who's off to a great start in 2017 after a dominating Week 1 performance.
And at the end of the week, Apollo sits atop the tables with 3 Player of the...
Another team and another dominant season for Reignover. This time without Huni.
우리 못 막는 발언이잖아. 또 그냥 이거 바텀 쭉 밀고.
Top die, Nexus die, Cloud9
Has to.
high with the solo.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to day 1 of the 2017 North American League Championship Series. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to our newly revamped battle arena that'll play home to a year's worth of League of Legends action. But without further ado, as we gear up for another season of League action, I'm going to ask you to join me in welcoming our defending champions, TSM!
Team fight.
Look it down. No, yeah, let's go. Camper Mega. Help him out. I'm chasing, bro. I'm looking, son.
A double already for Bjergsen. Into the back line. They're killing everybody. TSM cement themselves as the most dominant organization in North American League of Legends and win their 4th North American Championship.
Gentlemen, if you would do the honor in helping us commemorate your 4th NALCS title. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give it up for your defending NALCS champions, TSM! All right, well, as TSM prepares to face off against Cloud9, let's send it over to the analysts to look at a few changes hitting the Rift this year in the NALCS. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Dash. I am Joshua Jatt-Leesman, and Isaac Azael Cummings-Bentley is with me. Pretty hype intro.
I know, man. I'm so excited standing here another year of NALCS.
Yeah, TSM C9 will be happening in just a few minutes, but a lot also happened during the offseason, setting the stage for yet another exciting year here in the North American LCS. Some highlights here. 8 teams are returning from last split, and then we have 2 new teams. So we're welcoming back Team Dignitas, and also we're introducing FlyQuest.
FlyQuest, new name, a lot of familiar faces. The core of the old Cloud9 guys all returning.
Yeah, and there's also some LCS veterans that played last year that are just kind of moving to new teams. Look at all these changes right here. Biggest profile acquisition, probably Reignover going to Team Liquid after being so dominant on Immortals.
Reignover was massive, but you cannot overlook Doublelift, stepping down, Wild Turtle. Big shoes to fill this year. He's going to have to prove himself tonight.
Yeah, every single one of those is going to be exciting. Also, there's a lot of imports that came in from a specific country. Maybe Korea, I think, is the one. All these new players to the LCS. A lot of really big names. Someday really stands out to me as a guy who's a former MVP in Korea, now in North America.
Yeah, Someday one of the best for a couple years running. Looper, former world champion. A lot of big names here. I'm so excited to see how they're going to perform in North America.
Yeah, pretty good. And these sterling veterans are also going to be going up against the few rookies that we have in the split right here. Acadian, Cody Sun, and Contracts.
It's always great to see more North American talent, but Contracts is the guy I'm very excited to see. Reminds me a lot of the hype that was around Dardoch when he came into the league.
Yeah, let's see if they can live up to what Dardoch did last split. There's also much to talk about at the start of the season. We'll be diving more into the teams and the players as the weekend and season progresses. Right now, though, I want to talk a quick second focus on one of the most impactful changes to the game, which is the 10 bans.
Yeah, I mean, the 10-ban system is absolutely massive. One of the biggest things, there's a lot more meaningful choices. Having a larger champion pool is going to be more heavily rewarded as well, because there is the fact that you can pitch certain roles, and having those extra champions in your pocket is going to be helpful.
Yeah, specifically in the second phase of bans there, where both teams get 2 extra bans, it kind of gives you the ability to favor a specific role on your team by banning out counters, or really target an opponent's main champions in that second ban phase.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen it in LCK, we've seen it in EU LCS, LPL, so I'm very excited to see the NA LCS's take on the 10-ban system.
Awesome stuff. So let's take a look at who's getting the first shot in the new pick and bans. We already saw TSM get introduced on stage. Our first match of the night has the defending champs there going up against Cloud9. But after that, I'm also very excited about the second match, to be completely honest. Echo Fox versus Phoenix One. A lot of new players in that game.
Yeah, I mean, TSM C9 is hype, but the Phoenix One roster is revamped. They look very strong, and I'm really excited to see how Looper is going to do for Echo Fox.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the North American LCS. Not trying to be fake, I'm just really genuinely excited. But as we prepare for our first match, let's send it over to our casters in the battle arena.
Thank you very much, Jet. Hello, everyone. I am excited. So is my co-caster, I'm sure. My name is David Freak Turley here for our inaugural match of the season, the Debonair Darn it, I did this in practice properly.
We got
the Debonair Devil.
5 seconds in before a Freak made his first mistake.
It's going to keep happening.
Yeah!
Sam
Let's go!
NA casting. Let's hear it. I'm the best. Okay, so first match of the night. You guys know about it already. It was last year's summer finals. Defending champions TSM up against Cloud9. These two teams, obviously incredible.
These two teams are part of the reason everyone is so hyped to get this league off the ground here. To start off, we've got Cloud9. They're welcoming in rookie jungler Contracts. He's looking to be that missing piece to get Cloud9 back to the very peak of the North American LCS where they once were. Now, Reaper, he's also brought on Ray as a sub top laner, which may be a surprise to people considering how well Impact played last season. But that's an extra practice partner for him. Plus, maybe grooming Ray for the future. Plus, they've also brought on more coaching help from CJ Entis. They have Kane. Now, this guy, he's a 2-time Worlds participant, support player, and he's specifically coaching Sneaky and Smoothie in that duo lane on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and I think it's a really big deal because there's a lot of room now to be the best bot lane in North America, because if you haven't heard the news, you haven't looked at the stage right now, Doublelift is not with TSM anymore. He stepped down after Worlds last year, and so Wild Turtle is the man to fill those gigantic shoes left by possibly the best AD carry North America's ever had. Now, Wild Turtle spent the last year playing for Immortals, and he did very well with them. It's not like he was suddenly crap and suddenly no longer in the LCS. So we'll see if he can play up to the level that Doublelift kind of left all the TSM fans thinking about.
Yeah, it does feel like a very big change for the team because, not only did Doublelift have very good laning numbers as an AD carry, he also was a huge shot caller for the team, and they've talked about that a lot. He's a big voice. Turtle, though, he does have past synergy with those guys, and remember, the rest of TSM is still staying the same. Specifically, I want to highlight that synergy between Svenskeren and Bjergsen. The jungle mid synergy was huge. At Worlds, I have to say, Svenskeren was one of the standout players from all of North America. Great performance all around from him. But also, whenever we talk about Cloud9 versus TSM, that man on your screen, Bjergsen versus Jensen, possibly #1 and #2 mid laners going head-to-head. A lot of eyes are going to be in the mid lane for this game.
Absolutely agree. Those two mid lane Danish superstars. And of course, with Bjergsen kind of always holding the crown of North America, Jensen hoping to take that away from him here. And Jensen told us how he plans to step up on Cloud9 this split.
The biggest difference for me personally is probably I'll try to take more of a leadership role and be more talkative and just generally try to help the team out more rather than just focusing on myself. So I'm just trying to be a better team player overall and just a better leader.
It's actually interesting because we talk about him being #2 to Bjergsen, debatably maybe #3. Bjergsen went through a very similar change last season when he had to take on more shot calling duties, more leadership responsibilities. So, Jensen is really on a good path right now, and I think he's got a good trajectory.
Yeah, it's worth kind of pointing out that the Cloud9 trajectory, as you kind of named it, they used to have High in there, and they had benched him more than once and brought him back out. High played 3 different roles for C9 just so they could have his shot calling as part of the roster, and now the only old guard C9 player left is Sneaky. Right now, Jensen is one of the big sort of faces now of this lineup where he's going to have to be one of the vocal players because Meteos is gone, High is gone. They need some shot calling veteran status.
All right, well, now, before we hop into the game, let's take a look at the squads facing off. On the blue side, it is going to be TSM. Up top is Hanser. In the jungle will be Svenskeren. Mid, as we said, Bjergsen. Bottom will be Wild Turtle, and supporting him, Biofrost. Coach Parth also going to be up on stage for that new pick ban system.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for. Of course, their opponents here on the red side, Cloud9. Impact will be starting in the top lane today. We know Ray is on the bench. Contracts, rookie jungler, very hyped up. Jensen in the mid lane, bot lane duo of Sneaky and Smoothie, now with Coach Kane to help them during practice with their coach Reaper, also returning from before. So with both these squads, if you count coaches, 5 of 6 returning players from last split's final. And so these are 2 of the least changed teams in the LCS.
And I think we really do need to count coaches because we touched on it a little bit, but the new pick ban, everybody's so excited for it because of, the champion diversity. But also, coaches knowing their players really well is even more important because, yes, there is sort of a flow that people have settled on, but, flex picks can change that flow up, as well as the specific pools, and specialties of your players on different champions really can affect things. And it's already resulted in a lot of new picks, a lot of very exciting games.
Well, it's really interesting that you can kind of look into the statistics of pick and ban, and there are certainly some champions that are really, really high profile. Rengar, Camille, LeBlanc, like those 3 are pretty much like first pick this or you're doing something wrong tier, essentially. And then you've got like Maokai, who's up there as like a basically 100% pick ban top laner as well. But even just looking at top lane specifically, Camille and Maokai off the table, like the next most picked champion is like a 50% pick rate. And that's like number 3. Like before it was like always Maokai, always Nautilus, always Poppy. And now it's like, oh, we see some Jace bans, like maybe we see Jax up there. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff you can see afterwards.
Yeah, and the counters to those things that are so prevalent start to emerge, right? You see some Singed into these specific champions where it's good against tanks, and you also see a little bit of Shen emerging as well. So I like the unique emergence of these counters that come because there are, 10 champions not available.
Yeah.
People aren't just going straight down the list, next highest power.
It's what it seems like, as I feel like, at least internally, there's like, again, there's the S tier, which is like the Camille's of the world. There's an A tier where there's champions you expect to see in the first round. Ashe, Maokai, maybe Lee Sin is in there for examples of that. And then you've got like 80 champions who are in the tier below that, where you just pick any of these that you care about, whether you're playing Singed or Jax or Aurelia or whatever the top laner is. There's a bunch of different AD carries to play. There's a bunch of different bot laners, a bunch of different mid laners to play. And you've got a very, very wide pool to round out the composition. And it seems like the last 3 picks for each team are on a very wide pool.
All right, so just to update everybody, we are switching out Bjergsen's computer, I believe. Quick switch on stage, so it'll be a little bit longer. Exactly. That's why we get to delve further into the new pick bans. And so the main thing that I actually really like about the flex picks is the first phase pick of a flex pick. Because right now the basic flow that we kind of touched on is blue side does get their first pick of whatever strongest is left up. Then red side kind of gets to dictate what the other roles are going to be picked in first phase. Because if you don't match those, more bans are coming through.
Out,
you can get banned out. However, if they decide to grab a flex in that last part of the first phase, you don't have to match every role. And you can have it be flexible between, say, mid and support.
Right.
And then the other team doesn't know what to go after in their second phase ban. And there's a lot of things that we can, theory craft right now, but they get a little tedious without some action on stage to follow.
Right, but yeah, just to illustrate your point, I suppose, like we've seen 4 Jace games. 2 were top, 2 were mid. You pick that in the end of the first round. If they ban a bunch of mid laners, you go, that's cute. We'll just play Jace there, and we'll just pick Maokai later on or something to this effect. Nautilus can flex around as well, and yeah, I think that kind of stuff is very interesting. So let's drop out the pick and ban point. Let's talk about the new players on the rosters. Right? You guys should almost know the returning players. Wild Turtle back in for TSM, and Contracts is a player that I think we know we're hyping up a lot, but I think a lot of people don't really know about very well, just as casual esports fans. So Contracts, is a player who is recently turned 17, which is the minimum age you have to be to play in a professional league anywhere. This is his first eligible split, essentially.
Highly anticipated him turning LCS eligible as well. A lot of teams were looking at him, and that's why Cloud9 picked him up early for their challenger team. He played on that team with High, with Lemon, with Balls, so the old guard. So this guy has been groomed, and he's been with veterans for quite a long time. It's part of the reason why he's so hyped up now, because not only is he a young talent, but he's also had many mentors that have, plenty of stage experience.
Yeah, he's gotten close to a full year of competitive play, which is a good leg to stand on. I know very often rookies will come in and frequently overestimate their own skill set. They'll not understand how much work it really takes to become a top-tier talent, how much you have to learn to be as smart as players like Aframe, who have several years of experience and are universally respected for their intelligence. And it's always a varying degree of a growing experience for a rookie like someone like Contracts. You've had players like Dardoch who went 0 to 60 right away and were just incredible from the get-go. You've had players like Moon who had the opposite experience where they felt like they were on a similar level in Challenger but didn't have that same explosion into the professional scene, and Contracts is one where I want to see where on the spectrum he lands.
Yeah, and the other thing that's super important, how well he gets along with his team. You can see, especially, during pauses and stuff up on stage, teams have a bit of time. They're already joking around. He's fit in really well. Jensen's actually been really outspoken about how much he likes working with Contracts. So we talked about Svenskeren and Bjergsen's combination, but, how will Jensen and Contracts match up to that?
And I think it's going to be a fun one to watch for because Jensen has always been right behind that crown to be the best mid laner here in the North American LCS. And I think Contracts, there's a lot of really strong junglers out there to deal with. You've got several really important imports. You've got like Lyra and Chaser, for example, who look very good. We know Svenskeren's strong. We saw Smithy's very strong. Reignover didn't have the best playoff performance, but dominated the North American jungle for almost all of 2016. And there's a lot of great junglers to stack up against. Even fresher faces like Inori started to really turn heads by the end there. And where Contracts fits into a role that I feel like almost all the North American junglers are very, very good, is going to be interesting to see because almost every match he's ever going to play is going to be against someone who's scary.
All right, well, I think another thing worth highlighting that we kind of went over is Kane. We talk about coaching pickups every so often, but this one specifically for Sneaky and Smoothie in the bottom lane. There were even memes last year about Sneaky
in lane.
Sneaky in lane, that Double F started, I believe, versus TSM. And now it's actually Cloud9 that have the specific bottom lane coach going against a roster swap on TSM side in the bottom lane, and there's a lot of pressure on Wild Turtle to match up to these guys. Smoothie and Sneaky are raring to go, and Turtle, a lot of the criticism he did get when he was on the team was for laning phase and was for early on in the game. Plus Biofrost, now he does not have double lift. Everyone's looking for him to prove himself on his own now.
That was something I was definitely going to consider is, how good is Biofrost really going to be? He looked really good in the NALCS. At Worlds, it looked a lot worse, and that could have been nerves. I don't know exactly what it was, but he didn't look like the same Biofrost when he went over to Worlds. And right now, you no longer have the best AD carry in North America to make this lane look better. Now you've got a good AD carry. Granted, Wild Turtle's obviously
you keep on slipping in that best AD carry in North America.
I feel like
it.
He actually was. And I've been like a big Sneaky fan for a while, but I really feel like for 2016, Doublelift was I think unequivocally the best AD carry in the league for I think the entire year. I think far above Piglet, far above Sneaky. And now you've gotten some level of a downgrade. And I don't want to sell Wild Turtle short. I think he is a very good player, but you went from the best bot lane NA to I don't know, you're up against Prey's former support coaching a bot lane, and these guys weren't slouches in the first place.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely excited to see how it plays out. As we talk about the bottom lane, the champions we're expecting, Ashe and Varus are pretty much the premier AD carries for the bottom lane right now. And then supports depends on what your team does really want to do.
Yeah.
But again, the laning dominant ones are really high up there. The Zyra and Malzahar has really emerged, starting in Korea and in solo queue and stuff. And he's also a big bully in the bottom lane. That kill pressure at level 6.
Yep.
Zyra, though, I think is just so powerful still. All right, we switched out the computer. Let's get this game rolling.
Here we go. Picks and bans. North American LCS fans, the format has changed this year. 3 bans per side, just like normal. And it's going to be 3 picks per side. And then 2 more bans, and then 2 more picks. The order will be highlighted on your screen. We'll cover that as time goes on. But first off, the Rengar and LeBlanc bans, no surprise.
Yes, so this is along that tier. Camille is also in this tier that we do expect to be banned out. Usually it is on the red side to ban that out because blue side does have first pick. And I think that Camille, not only is she such a strong champion all around, but doesn't even really have anything you can pick into her that's necessary for a blue side to ban out in order to pick her. So they're pretty free to go after target bans from then on, and the Olaf actually finds himself, so maybe a little bit of mixed impact and contracts crossover there.
Yeah, so the S tier champion's pretty much gone away. We know Maokai is high priority, Ashe would be as well, but it's also time for these teams to kind of set up what the pinched roles might be. You see TSM have sent themselves a single ban onto the Olaf. They've got to choose again. Janna, actually, I am surprised at as a ban. I have not really seen her much in competitive right now.
Yeah, there may be some concern here on the bottom lane. We'll see how this does develop, but Cloud9, historically has been very willing to play things like the Ashe Zyra combo and jump right on that. We'll see how it does round out. Interesting flex here with the Lee Sin ban, as it he is definitely really high up there, but a lot of it is also because Svenskeren, this man dazzled people at Worlds on the champion.
He's very good at it. So this means if we go by the tier list definition, the next junglers up, I believe, are Kha'Zix and Rek'Sai. As far as top lane goes,
Elise is also, I believe, right in
she's
there.
up there, yeah. So we'll see across those three. Maokai, of course, a very high priority top laner. Ashe, I think, is going to be no surprise in the bot lane marksman role as well. So no sneaky zigs this game. I know several bot lane players have been practicing that mage to see if it gets pulled out. We've seen it a few times in pro play. We'll see what's next.
Interesting. There actually hasn't been much attention paid to the mid lane here. Neither one wants to go first. For me, there's this interesting trio with Ryze, Cassiopeia, and Orianna, where Ryze is super strong, but I feel like Cassiopeia is great into him right now, even after reworks. But then you don't want to pick Cassiopeia early because Orianna is good into her, and neither of them are jumping early, even though both these guys are very strong mid lane players. Katarina is still an option as well, so
absolutely.
Getting a counter pick Katarina might be an exciting possibility. There we go, though. I believe that's locked in there.
Ashe
4 contracts.
And you mentioned the Ryze being high priority, going to be hovered by Svenskeren, and that actually is going to switch to a Syndra. And as time ticks down, looks like that's going to be the champion they play for after all. So Syndra in the mid lane for Bjergsen, going to be the blind pick here. And they've got to pick one more champion. And we know actually now that the roles will not match up 1-to-1. There's already been 4 roles selected so far, so we'll see disjointed bans in phase 2.
Getting super excited already because we aren't following that script, and the second ban phase will be super interesting to see if we're going to nab a mid laner here.
Rek'Sai locked.
I think they might need to nab a mid laner. Your counter pick for Maokai can wait. Because there's so many, things that you're going to run up against him, but there's not like a hard counter to Maokai. Maokai is so good because scales well, always an amazing tank, super great frontliner. So I think that they feel fine, and Cloud9 would rather go for a mid lane before getting 2 more rounds of bans at it.
Other thought I have, so there's 2 things. Cloud9 needs a tank. Oh, it's going to be Fizz. Fizz, the mid lane matchup, going to be picked into, now it could be top, but I did not expect that.
Yeah, it's definitely flexible, but this is going to be super exciting. A Kha'Zix Fizz mid lane jungle, so risky. Double assassins here. Cloud9 are going to have to be on their early game because if you get behind with that combo, you are in big trouble. There is no wave clear here. Fizz could very easily get pushed under turret, get abused early on. The pressure, though, does come from Fizz getting early kills, right? If you have jungle pressure, if you have vision control around mid lane, and you can put pressure on that Syndra, and she can't go so aggressively. Theoretically, extra range advantage and the spam and harass can take its toll, but Fizz has so much threat for that kill because he can snowball off of it.
It's a high-risk, high-reward pickup. I want to note that Cloud9 does not have any tanks right now in the lineup, and you're looking at the bans for TSM. Nautilus the first, Poppy the second would not surprise me to say Impact. You've got to play Singed or something if you want to play a beefy frontliner. There's the Poppy. So Impact, there are still tanks to play. There's other things in the role, or maybe a tank support for Smoothie.
And quickly I want to touch on, this is what happens when you have desynced picks in the first phase. The bans are also desynced here. Because Cloud9 had the only AD carry pick, you see the follow-up of Varus and Jhin. So they take the next 2 right off the table. I would expect an Ezreal for Wild Turtle would be my theory crafted pick for him. We'll wait until TSM gets their turn for that, though. Here now, we get back to that Maokai point where like he's always going to do Maokai things, and you're just going to have something up there that's not necessarily going to counter him, but just trade with him. They will have Shen ultimate to try and make plays combined with Ash Arrow. There's a lot of global potential here locked in for Cloud9. And meanwhile, we get back to TSM's side. See their first shot at the support.
Plenty of time to go for this pick right now. Wild Turtle hovering Zyra. Now, we know that Misfortune has become the go-to counter pick to Zyra. Not so much that you won't play Zyra with MF available, but you can see Smoothie leaving his pick for last to make sure that counter pick is an option, and Zyra gets locked.
Or the Lulu, which we did just see in Europe. You know, because of the auto kills on those. Oh, well, not necessarily.
You almost one-shot plants. I'm not sure if you exactly do. I'd have to play it myself.
But it does help a little bit.
Pix does damage to the plants.
Kalista hover for Turtle. He's had highlight plays on Kalista, Freak.
He has. Some of this has worked out for him. He's gone back and forth, and he's locked it in. Kalista in the very first game of the North American LCS. Double marksman down in the bot lane. Kalista, the buffs were enough in Turtle's mind, and he brings the champion out.
I love when we have divergent, styles here emerging in pick ban, because TSM are very clearly going front to back here. They've got a great frontliner, team fighting. Kalista's going to get in the middle with all the zones created from Maokai, Syndra, and Zyra. Meanwhile, Cloud9, this Ash Arrow and Shen stand united are going to have to be big. MF is picked up. That's that classic counter to Zyra that emerged last year at Worlds with the Rocks Tigers using it. We'll see if it does, become a thing, because as you transition out of the lane phase, definitely drops off and doesn't provide quite as much.
And some of the lane phase strengths are one-shot to Zyra. Well, guess what? Wild Turtle has a get-out-of-jail-free card for his support. By picking Kalista, expecting the Ash MF lane, Biofrost can face tank an arrow and get thrown back out.
Turtle cannot face tank an arrow, though.
No, he can't. He's got to dodge them.
There's nothing for him because, yes, that double ultimate spike you're talking about in the bottom lane is crucial. Remember as well, we're going to have to keep in mind that Shen stand united. There are 2 assassins for him to play off, or the bottom lane. So there's a lot of options, and that first stand united will be very important for impact, because the cooldown at level 1 is still very long.
200 seconds.
Yeah, they didn't reduce that as one of the buffs to get him back in the game. What they buffed to get him back in here was a little bit of armor and health, just some stats buff for the top lane, and that first ultimate cooldown is still going to be quite long.
All right, well, we'll see what happens here. You get the lineup up on your screen. The very first game of the North American LCS is about to begin. Defending champions TSM, 4-time North American split champions. Cloud9 have won 2 themselves, but for the last, I think, several playoffs in a row, maybe 4 playoffs in a row, TSM have taken out Cloud9 in a best of, and C9 maybe gets a chance to start the revenge story early as the 2017 spring split begins.
Yes, sir. There's been a lot of hype, coming from scrims from all the teams about both of these 2.
Here we go. Game 1 of the 2017 North American LCS begins. TSM chance for the first thing you hear if you load this VOD up and start the game out. Haunter and the rest of TSM.
In there.
DS9, a great Star Trek. Underrated.
Right. As they fan out, though, I'm so excited for this mid lane. Not only is it the classic matchup of the North American Danish players, Jensen and Bjergsen, but he's taking that assassin into the Syndra, looking for the kill pressure. To me, as a jungler, you immediately look to that lane for the early presence, right? This top lane is fully ignorable. Shen, Maokai, leave them up there to do their own thing, because even if you go up there, it takes a while to kill the tank, and the other jungler can make some big plays while you're spending your time there. But Rek'Sai does have some small advantage in that early vision war with the passive. We'll get those pings and can try and use that to help get extra vision for Bjergsen around the mid lane. Bjergsen has taken that exhaust, by the way, to defend against the all-in.
It's worth noting, by the way, you see where Biofrost is standing in the lane. He's actually making sure he gets plants into the lane when it starts. Junglers, I really recommend you start topside to let your dual lanes have things like this, where Biofrost, just by making sure he's standing here, gets a lot of lane advantage.
Yeah, we've seen how important it is to line up those seeds for the early harass. Woo! Sneaky getting down. All right, both junglers are going to start on the top side too, by the way, because bottom lane right now, so important to get early control of the lane. We'll see them battle towards that level 2. Kalista and Zyra have a lot of pressure. Kalista's so good at chasing you down. Biofrost adds the extra threat and damage here. But we'll talk about, again, that MF support and how it counters the Zyra. You know, the plant killing, definitely true with her love taps, as well as the extra move speed to be able to dodge.
And C9 tried to put a Trinket Ward into the brush and actually got picked off there by Turtle and Biofrost. Quick reflexes to see it happen. And this means it's going to be harder for Cloud9 to control part of this lane, and actually will mean a lot as time goes on. Good poke on a Biofrost, but we'll see if this lane actually plays out.
Yeah, one of the most important resources to track in that bottom lane while they're trading there is the health potion count for both supports, because a lot of the harass will be for the supports, as the ADs are on the front line right now, and trading health pretty liberally. As we said, though, junglers can have very big influence in the early game. Contracts has gone red to blue, right into Gromp. Gonna go for the level 3, and we'll see if he chooses to fight over the Scuttle. He's actually dropped off that ward. You see the ward in the river? That was to scout an early Scuttle Crab from Rek'Sai. So he wanted to go get his Gromp while still having vision of the typical Rek'Sai move for the Scuttle Crab. Has worked out, and he sees him take it, but he's already on Wolf, so the oohs and ahs, won't be any conflict, but he knows that that was taken, and Sven is on the bottom side.
Yeah.
So some intelligence there to Contracts, and they've been alerted to Sven's early movements.
Yep, and you saw the missing ping down there like, hey, people went around this way. I saw Sven go towards the Drake. He probably jumped over the wall. And they can expect he's bot side jungle this time.
And look at Contracts. He immediately goes over to the mid lane as they saw Sven in the bottom river. He's not sure if Sven would try and gank mid lane from the river or if he would wrap around. Here goes the aggressive move, though.
It's a slow and nice knockback by Bjergsen. Gets Contracts at a range. Gonna flash the chase anyway. That'll be a trade of summoner spells. I think if Bjerg didn't land that E, he could have died for that one, but gets away with both summoners down.
Most definitely. And that is the gank that you're expecting there in a Fizz lane. Does get control and is going to push the lane in. Bjergsen survives with both summoners flown. Remember that Jensen did not use his. Contracts, as the jungler, this is something that you guys do need to remember. Always trade 1-for-1 flashes with the enemy mid laner, because if your mid laner keeps his, so much extra threat there. And Kha'Zix also has a jump of his own, so it's even more important. Svenskeren could go for a repeat here, though. We talked about bottom river ganks.
There's the stun. Jensen has his E, jumps in, and actually fails to dodge the knock because he can't do it. Sven queues it up. A lot of damage on Jensen. He just gets back to lane.
You should never, as the Fizz, be able to escape that without getting knocked up using your E. Or you should, if you're going to use your E, that would be the only way, because you would have to jump over him. Rek'Sai, all he has to do is attack move. You'll immediately knock him up if they try and Q through you.
Yeah.
But he did go for the Q. Didn't lose that much health for it, and still is going to be able to get all this CS. So very, very high action in the mid lane as expected. Both junglers making their presence felt, but all important summoners were blown from the Contracts gank, not from the Sven gank.
All right, and we see the payoff now as Bjergsen does get to walk back in just to refill a potion, so not a ton of sustain, but 250 health worth. The Null Magic Mantle will make his life a little bit easier as well. Of course, you should definitely buy MR up against Fizz. Smart choice for that. Contracts level 5. Not as fast as Svenskeren was, though. Slightly faster here, the TSM jungler. But otherwise, a fairly equal trade. Cloud9 overall, though, you can see up 400 gold as a team. You're seeing small minion leads on pretty much every lane, and specifically top lane up 8.
Yep, doing quite well. Their impact is. There are a few more minions for Hunter to pick up, but it's only 4 and won't completely equalize, so there is that small advantage for impact, and he's using his teleport here because he's about to get level 6. Won't really need that for a cross-map play, and just wants to get back there to push this lane into the turret against Hanser so that he doesn't get keep them there right in front. There it is.
He's going to try to freeze as much as he can. It won't freeze forever. It's guaranteed to push back towards C9 right now, towards Impact.
And remember, his Shen ultimate doesn't have to be used bottom lane. 2 assassins on the Cloud9 squad. It really provides so much early game threat. If you have these double assassins plus a defense of a Shen ult, Sven does show here because he got baited in, thought that Jensen was going to complete that aggressive move. But Jensen, they actually get vision of Biofrost moving up the river, and I think that's why Jensen backed off. So seeing just the Zyra enables him to dodge a gank from Rek'Sai as well, and Contracts moves in to complete the Scuttle Crab kill.
mid lane roam didn't quite pay off too much for here, just Biofrost losing a bit of time, but it's okay because Turtle was backing anyway. Trade in the top lane. You're seeing, by the way, a lot of these top laners are going Grasp of the Undying, the ones who think they can outfight the opponents. Haunter, I believe, is still going Courage the Colossus, but I've seen several top laners in practice have gone for Grasp of the Undying for more laning power. And you're seeing right there, Impact is getting ahead of Haunter in some cases.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, these ganks have definitely taken their toll on Bjergsen. He has to respect the Fizz all-in so much. So Jensen just over and over going for those trades. Get some more harass down on him now. The exhaust for Bjergsen is back up. He does have that. If it's just a 1v1 all-in, he should be able to survive. But again, junglers are really hovering around this mid lane.
You know, it's a volatile matchup. We know on either side, these champions can be one-shot. Bjergsen still missing flash for the next roughly 1 minute, 60 seconds exactly on my client here. And Contract's gonna walk in, sees Bjerg, and goes, I don't know if I want to 1v2 that. We know Sven's around.
Yeah, now you're what you're trying to get out of it is zone them, make him walk the long way so he can maybe miss a minion. He did zone.
Nope,
minions.
literally nothing lost.
Bjerg got him. Well played there from Bjergsen. Gets most of the CS here. I think he missed 1, 2 on the turret. That's about it. Gets most of the money in. It's still extremely close here.
Now Contract's going into the jungle, looking for a little bit of tracking out of Svenskeren. Nothing found just yet. I think Sven can see him via Tremor Sense. Contract sitting still. There's the ulti onto Wild Turtle. They aim for him, and he's got to burn Summoner Heal to get out.
As we talked about, yes, the support can take the arrow, but Turtle cannot, and that arrow does land. Huge amount of harass. They weren't even really 100% going for a kill there. They did get the heal Summoner spell out and zoned a bunch of minions. So aggressive move there from Cloud9. As soon as they hit 6, go for that ult combo, and it was able to land. This means all pressure in the jungle for TSM is lost. Contract moves in. They get the red steal. And the other thing about Kha'Zix here, upgrading that Q, that was his first evolution. You can easily take isolated objectives like the buffs and even the dragon. Now, the Drake is going to do a lot of damage to Kha'Zix still, but he could theoretically solo it if he wanted to use that time. It's better to use it actually to farm your jungle though and get that experience unless there's nothing left around. And he is going to do that instead. Meanwhile, blue buff for Bjergsen is enabling him to push the lane.
Definitely is. We'll see if this blue goes over to Jensen soon enough, but right now, I'm not going to find it. Bjerg looked like he was going to go to ward, but he's just going to recall, line up the Negatron cloak to be a bit more durable, and he'll recall back into lane.
All right, it will be another trade over here. Now, like we were talking about before with the Shen, very, very high priority on this first ultimate. It doesn't look like Cloud9 are looking to force with the first gen ultimate though, because it is fairly risky. He is getting kind of pushed in right now. Haunter does have some AoE clear, and he's trying to push in impact. So the Shen ultimate not being used too liberally. It's definitely still there for a defensive play, but the Ash Arrow coming back up might change those things. Bottom lane, they did get that heal out, and things are building. It might actually result in some action around this Drake.
Yeah, they're trying to get their wards up. TSM with a couple of good defensive control wards and the 2 choke points for that bottom jungle. One by mid, one by bot lane. So we know Cena has no vision down there. Really just kind of dark and unsafe for both sides to go for Drake right now.
Yeah, if I'm Cloud9, I'm looking to kind of abuse the map right now when the map is split up. There's the arrow.
Again, it hits Turtle. Biofrost jukes away from it. Flash on a Wild Turtle. Knockup comes through. Not a lot of meaningful damage onto C9, but that is TSM losing another Summoner spell down there.
Yeah, accurate shooting here from Sneaky. As soon as it's back up, boom, another Ash Arrow, another ult from Smoothie to layer on, get the damage, and another Summoner blown. This is going to draw some extra fellows down here. Going to clear out this pink control ward.
Yep.
Instead,
haha.
Bjergsen is actually not going to go out to lane because he knows there's a lot of damage potential in that duo. Not going to overextend and plays it very safe. Cloud9 tiptoeing around this. They have a slight edge in pressure, but they don't want to pull the trigger and overdive. If you overdive versus a team fighting comp like this and you throw away your early game, it's going to be very bad news for Cloud9. So they have to be cautious, even though they know they do have the opportunity to try and make strong cross-map plays.
Sure. And it's worth noting that even though this...
Good shot
The
there from
CS
Turtle.
numbers might lie to you facing a Zyro because you can kill him for free, but if you look at gold, Sneaky's actually up 300 over Turtle, and Sweetie's up 100 over Biofrost. So the golden, look at that contracts! He's gonna get him first blood! Assist to Smoothie, gets the assassination.
Patience pays off for Cloud9 there, and the bottom lane, their hard work pays off for the jungler, baby. Contracts moves in, gets the first blood, and he's also gonna get some shared gold on the first turret. This feels so good for a Kha'Zix. This early game is already a time where he's gonna shine. He's got the Q evolution, he can quickly take care of this Drake. Oh, mid lane arrow.
Gonna try to help Jensen.
Yeah, you know, throw one out there. Jensen's still going for it.
Little mini shark, but now the E is gone. Shen to come help out on this one. Jensen taking a lot of damage, but there comes everybody else. Cloud Drake picked up. Sven has to flash away from Smoothie joining this one. And now Bjergsen is running for dear life. Impact gonna land the taunt. There's the rest of the damage. 2-0 to Cloud9 to start out the game.
And they're not done yet. Hanser!
In the mix he goes. Smoothie goes down 2-1. Finally gets an equalizing kill. Good job by TSM's top half of the map. Turns it a bit around. Still, all said and done, C9 with the lead.
Yeah, that was a good answer kill there from Hanser, though, because TSM, like we said, they do have a very solid teamfight comp for later in the game. And, you know, getting some counter kills here just to keep them kind of in it for the early game, definitely what they need. Here we go. We do see that Shen ultimate that we were waiting on. They wait till they really needed to use it in the mid lane there as Jensen got exhausted and he was in a 2v1. Impact, though, right on top of things. Does save him with the Shen ultimate, follows up with a kill there with the flash. And luckily for TSM, Hanser not far behind. He is able to answer. And yeah, Cloud9 do have their lead. That being said, definitely not out of the deep waters yet here for TSM.
2,000 gold difference, certainly a nice one for Cloud9. Not insurmountable by any means. And we'll see, though, that volatile mid lane matchup has started to push a little bit toward Jensen. The Assassins can certainly pay off. We know that Hanser can pin them down on that Maokai, that the damage can be there. We just have to see it play out.
All right, now as we're transitioning to that mid stage of the game, you want to see Cloud9 keep the map spread out if you're looking at it from their perspective, because they don't want to end up in one of those fights where they're moving front to back in a team fight, trying to get through a Maokai and get through this Rek'Sai. So they want to keep the map spread out. They still have 2 teleports that they would want to use and, you know, an overload one side, make use of the assassin playstyle that they have. Meanwhile, TSM want to do the exact opposite, right? They just want to defend their turrets and they want to hold on till the mid game where they can get these 5-on-5 fights around things like Dragon.
Exactly. You see it in the types of champions that are being played. Kalista has to be by a teammate and a bit of damage, he's fine. But yeah, right, you know Shen and Fizz are happy to split push in a side lane. It means C9 have sent their duo Sneaky through the end of the mid lane. Jensen here to wreak havoc in the side of the map. Battle, yeah, not gonna beat that with Smite, certainly. But they're just, yeah, splitting up the map, looking for Stand United, looking for assassinations, looking for an opening that Contracts can find an isolated opponent.
All right, convergence here in mid lane. Cloud9, they do exactly that. They go 1-3-1, they split up the map. They've got their AD carry and AD carry in mid lane. And they're going to try and pressure this turret. Meanwhile, move down bottom through a bunch of wards for TSM. So Jensen right now is backing off because they have so many early wards. And Bjergsen is all on his own here, doing well defending this turret. He dodges the arrow. He still gets all the CS as well. Pretty good one-man defense there from Bjergsen, while the rest of the team went for that attempted pick on the bottom lane Fizz.
Absolutely. It's always scary. It's nerve-wracking for your TSM because it's only a matter of time until they do finally land that arrow. They find the angle that Bjergsen didn't think of, and as soon as that happens, he's instantly dead. He won't be able to survive the damage. And it's a losing proposition if TSM can't find their way to get into this map. Jensen grabs an easy blue buff and walks back to his lane.
All right, TSM's way in here, I think looks like they're hoping for a very good, you know, counterplay, right? Hanser's going to have his teleport up soonish, and if they're defending at a turret, you know, trying to turn one of those fights around at a turret, if they are able to win one of those, they can then, you know, use their 5-on-5 power to get that advantage right back.
We'll see what happens. We know the team fights can be explosive, and we're waiting still until Wild Turtle can finish the Hurricane. Interestingly enough, actually, BF Sword in the Hurricane, not the Ruin King build that I'd seen more typically of Kallistas. So it's a bit new for me, or a bit old school, depending on how you think of it. Wild Turtle's still going to wait until he can complete that item. Current gold says he's pretty far away, actually. About 1,000 to go until he can finish Hurricane. So his team fight power not going to be strong for a while. Bjergsen pushed to C9 side of the map.
Yeah, Bjergsen is playing a good game right now. He's dodging everything, but it's a risky game, right? Yeah. If, as you said, that Ash Arrow lands, it's back up right now, and the opportunity is definitely there. Here's a good move from from TSM. Look at this rotation top. They're bringing everybody up. They're going to try and even up the turret score here and get that gold back.
Yeah, that's
so
well
that
played.
they're not so far behind.
Definitely well played, getting that opening, saying, you know, you can't kill bottom outer. I don't care where you are.
All right, let's see if Bjergsen is going to be able to dodge this, because they brought everybody to the mid lane here for Cloud9. Shen can arrive with Stand United.
Sven looks durable enough. Hanser gets over the wall against Jensen. No other catch to be had. Everyone jumps away.
That's right, his E was already cast, so he got to follow him through. But Jensen, slippery Fizz, gets into the river, and no confrontation from either team.
All right, still slow and methodical. The gold lead down to 1,700. TSM have closed the gap a little bit from earlier. Next Drake up in 35, and to many's chagrin, it's only a Cloud Drake. I don't know if it really has specific synergies with either team other than maybe you run away from the gank attempts if someone comes to hit you from the side. But it's certainly no game-ending Mountain Drake style things that are probably pretty useful for C9, who only really have the 2 marksmen as the ranged champions. Turrets won't fall all that quick.
Okay, I want to prep something here that Cloud9 could go. If you're looking at Jensen, he's got teleport. There's a ward behind Wild Turtle right now. So if he decided that they had enough vision to actually go for an assassination, yeah, this pink ward right here is an opportunity. It's not only Shen that has teleport in this game. Remember, Jensen's been using it, you know, to get through lane base now. That's an opportunity that was there. There wasn't vision deep for Cloud9 on that side of the map, so they weren't sure how many TSM players were there. But that is, you know, one of those things that you do look for to see a mid-game play.
Yeah, that actually, TSM who controlled the Drake despite having their bot laner top not long ago, and yet they're in complete control of this river in C9, giving up, in my opinion, more than they probably should. They had the gold lead in the clean, unattempted Cloud Drake for TSM. Not even a problem.
Yeah, you gotta wonder a little bit if Cloud9, what they're gonna actually pull the trigger on. If, you know, an AD carry up there without the ward is not it. They definitely don't want to have an overdive like we said though. They still have a decent gold lead. It's going to be on Hanser instead. Shen comes in.
All right, onto the isolated Maokai. Hanser's got no one around him. It's minimum 15 seconds till any TSM shows up.
He's pretty free.
Yeah, I don't see how you get away with this one. He's got flash available. He's trying to get over the wall. Not going to get the chance to. The final bit of damage comes through. Impact with the kill credit. Now Bjergsen found out by Contracts. Exhaust be damned. The solo kill for C9's rookie jungler takes out Bjergsen, and he wants more. He's got an appetite for more Danes, and Svenskjern running away.
Exactly. He had Jensen, or he had Sneaky and Smoothie in the mid lane as well, so he could continue right there. Bjergsen goes down to Contracts. They get the turret after the 2 kills. And more picks here for Cloud9. I mean, they increase their gold lead. They increase the map coverage that they have to work with now. Outer turrets going down help these teams that are doing 1-3-1, that are doing this split so much, because it makes TSM have less area to try and farm gold in. Let's take another look here. We were mentioning, you know, what is the play that they actually pull the trigger on, you know, with their global cross map? And it's the guaranteed for sure. They accounted for the other members of TSM in the mid and top lane. And so you just take that Maokai, who has no escapes, and even though it takes a long time, they grab the kill. Now here's Contracts just solo on Bjergsen, even with the exhaust. Able to get that last Q and auto out. Bjergsen burns down from the red smite.
Beautifully done right there. So now 3,500 gold. Cloud9 in a pretty comfortable position right now. Impact with the control ward to get rid of Hanser's vision. It says, remember what happened last time you 1v1'd me? It was a 2v1. It didn't go well for you. Hanser forced to play a little bit farther back. Sneaky once again just, he's sitting in the mid lane. This time he does catch out Bjergsen. Plenty of damage there, forcing the flash out. And it's TSM giving up control of the mid lane. Hanser does TP in though. He finds Smoothie. There's the damage out from Biofrost, and they've answered back. The red-haired support goes down. And now Sneaky running. Over the wall he goes, and suddenly everyone's there along with him. No. Double kill for Biofrost. Nicely done. TSM makes 3-4.
That's that counter dive we're talking about for TSM. They turn that one around, and they're going straight for Baron. Whoa, pressure on Contracts here. Will he be able to get some vision inside? He's just walking around. This is very dangerous position for especially a squishy Kha'Zix. All by himself here. The rest of C9 are coming up the river.
TSM have enough health. Jensen, who's he going to find on this one? They're going to look for Balfrost. They're going to get the fish onto him. Here comes the assassination. One goes down. There's a shutdown. 1,000, 2,000 health left on there. And here comes the attack. And it's going to go to Svensker and amidst the random, the spikes coming through. Another kill comes through actually for Jensen. Takes out Wild. Total Contracts in the mix. A shutdown in for the Maokai, but it's already been a double kill in for Jensen's mid laner here. Hanser now stuck in a bit of a bad situation. 2v2 overall as he keeps the next line near him. And it's a triple kill actually coming through. Jensen refuses to go down. 4 members of TSM dead.
And Svenskeren left that fight early because TSM probably made a call to save some Baron buff. They at least want to get something out of that play, and they need 1 Baron buff at least left alive. That being said, Cloud9 cleaning up 4 kills for giving away that Baron means they get top turret plus a lot of pressure on mid and a bunch of extra gold here. Sven gonna cut him off though.
Got in the back line. The quick stun goes back into Balfrost, trading the 1-for-1. Sneaky goes down. And 1 more shot will do it. It's bullet time to take him out. And Smoothie now has to run for dear life. Sven does have flash and chooses not to use it to chase through. 1-for-1.
Pretty action-packed mid-game here. All right, so let's take another look. Now, a lot of times, you'll see TSM, the team on Baron with 5 members, turn around and try and kill the enemy jungler as they approach for this fight steal. But they make the call to stay on the Baron, which is very, very risky because all of your DPS is going into the Baron. Meanwhile, Cloud9 are just picking people off left and right here. Contracts goes in, takes down Biofrost. You know, Jensen and Impact are taking down Wild Turtle inside the pits. But because they have the Callista Ren timed with that smite, that was actually very good layering for TSM. They end up getting the Baron kill at the cost of a bunch of members of the team, though. And Cloud9 did get quite a few kills and a bunch of gold out of that.
Yeah, Baron for -3 kills in the overall fight is maybe not the best trade you really would have hoped for, but now the pressure is on for mid lane outer turret. Of course, Sven holding that Baron buff makes the minion wave tanky, and that will be 2 to 3 in turrets.
Yep, TSM catching right back up and goal.
Smoothie, the knockout, goodbye.
Talk about catches. That was a Svenskeren stun, or a Bjergsen stun. Bjergsen stun by there, by the way, with Syndra. So he caught Smoothie there just with the edge of it. Deceptive long range on those Syndra balls. But that is going to mean this Baron empowered push does continue for TSM. So you talk about comparing those two. Yes, if it ends at just those kills for Baron. Oh, here we go.
Biofrost does have ulti, pulls him right in. Jensen assassinates absolutely nothing as he gets pulled into the ether. Now they'll re-engage. Biofrost still up, but why are they focused firing the Zyra? Contracts goes down for the over-aggression. Now Impact locked up, gonna get dropped as well. The rend means a double kill for Wild Turtle, and another turret falls.
This Cloud9 comp is not a teamfighting comp. What are you doing? You're down a member and trying to teamfight a better teamfight, front to back. Remember, this Maokai and this Rek'Sai on the front line, so hard to get through. Bjergsen also had a good interrupt there on the Kha'Zix, so Contracts couldn't even get to the back line. And as we said, TSM, better team fight, better 5-on-5, brute force right up the mid lane. They're also going to collect this dragon, and look at that, game tied back up.
And I want to check in on Wild Turtle right now, 3-2-2. Look at the replay first.
All right, here we go. The arrow and the fish were both aimed at Turtle, but Hanser takes the fish, and Bio got the arrow, so he was Callista ultimate out. 2 initiation tools were negated right there. The Contracts, as I said, he got interrupted by Bjergsen, and they got the counter kills. TSM, front to back, moves it right forward.
So Wild Turtle, 3-2-2 is actually a really good scoreline, I would say. That's pretty solid for a team that's still down in kills. It's a nice KDA. Also, weirdly, Essence Reaver Hurricane, not a build I ever would have expected to see. Now that Rend resets on kill anyway, and I believe, I forget if that change went through or not, Spears still stack when it's on cooldown, which means like, Wild Turtle doesn't really need CDR or mana regen that badly.
It's definitely an oddball thing. It definitely snuck up on me as well. I'm not used to seeing it either, and it's just kind of mirrored the Ashe. Now, what it does give you is a lower cooldown for your ultimate.
Sure.
So you get a little bit more utility as AD carries are so utility focused now. I have to say though, it's not like a long cooldown ultimate anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see though. It is working out so far.
He's also going Death Stance. That's the only item that builds out of Coalfield's Warhammer
Yeah.
and Vamp Scepter. And Death Stance, I actually like. I hadn't thought of myself, but all your rend damage will heal you, which is half your damage anyway, so you would otherwise only get half value from lifesteal anyway. So I like that sense of it. Wild Turtle, a very interesting build. And again, maybe someone else has done this, but I haven't seen it before, and looks really clever.
Well, let's check in as they push in on this mid lane. Looks like they are trying to get another one. Good fish.
Good Zonias. Nothing to gain there for Jensen. You can see Sven dueling with Contracts on the wings, the two Void Monsters back and forth. It looks like not a problem for TSM as they get their 5th turret now. Impact just split pushing in the side lane.
Exactly. Cloud9, they need to stick to the composition they drafted. Pull this map apart. Don't go for those, especially 4v5 engages, head on. Splitting it up, they are going to eventually get this turret as we are waiting for Shen to slowly topple the top lane there. And they do even it up a little bit, but again, they still want to make these pickoff plays. This Ash Arrow, into either of the side laners, 16 for Impact and 16 for Jensen. They're still very threatening.
Impact wants in on this one, bit of damage. Here comes Contracts, and there goes Wild Turtle flashing away. Can't get out in time, and suddenly Vilefrost in front of the team lands a 2-man route into the knockup. Contracts finds more from across the map downtown. Sneaky helps him get the kill. A double for Contracts as he runs for dear life. Ma pops, he's going to be okay. Impact still tanking the front side, but Hanser finds the flank, does take out Contracts. 2 for 1 so far, C9's lead. Impact still taking the front line, but how far can he really go? Has the flash, jumps the wall. Gromp coming for another bite, and Hanser still in the chase, finds the knockback, another stun in for Bjergsen, makes it 2 for 2, and TSM answer equally.
Whoa, very, very interesting call there from Cloud9. Now, if Jensen had teleported right at the beginning of that action, they could have had him there for a 5-on-5 after, but they make the call pretty early on for him to hold his TP, and you have to make that call early on. Because if you make that call late, and the teleport comes in late, you're already giving over your kills in exchange, and you just lose out on taking this turret. So they committed to this call to keep Jensen out and save his teleport. And, in reward, they do eventually get this turret, but it's at the cost of losing more members, whereas they could have had a numbers advantage. Interesting trade-off there, and they do get a bit more gold. But here's how it all started. It is that side lane play. Impact stayed in the brush, gets the taunt, Contracts goes for the execute, and that arrow. Sneaky has been very, very accurate with his Ash arrows all game long. This one definitely helped out. Contracts was safe for a while with the Shen ultimate, but Hanser, again, diligent here on the Maokai. Does teleport in, does get the counter kill, and then they also chase down Impact.
Yeah, part of the game that was had here, I'm sorry if you said it and I missed it, but Jensen did keep pushing in the bot lane, and during the replay, bot lane tier 2 is alive. Live right now, bot lane tier 2 is dead, so that turret was picked up as, you did say that? Okay, you patted me on the shoulder and pointed to yourself. I tune out on you a lot, sorry. We were both right, I guess. But yeah, turret picked up, and it's Cloud9 holding a 900 gold lead, down 1 Cloud Drake.
All right, TSM moving in as 5, trying to get that standard team fight once again, moving into Cloud9 territory. Contracts, though, burning down that red buff, should be able to get, oh!
Sneaky got it.
Sneaky, okay, so even best case scenario there. Gives it over to Sneaky. Red buff for the Ash.
And he's actually going for a very tank-busting build. You can see Mortal Reminder, his 3rd completed item. No Infinity Edge, no 70% crit here, or 80% is the case maybe, depending on your build on Ash, but immediately into the Armor Pen, knows he has to fight the Rek'Sai, has to fight the Maokai in all these team fights, which is correct. I think it's optimal damage, but it means still no lifesteal outside of Warlord's Bloodlust.
Woo! Shield's getting broke. Oh, kill the Zerat!
It's gonna die. Yeah, Hunt's not gonna take damage at all, so if that walks away. Worth noting, Zerat Portal got some changes in 7.1. That is the live patch that we're all playing on at home as well. The range is much reduced, but the damage to turrets is actually a lot higher if it does reach them, and so it's a very good immediate turret pressure tool. Much worse at just controlling a lane in general. And so it's more of an immediate use scenario for Impact, and now it's on cooldown.
All right. Now, again, as we set this up, now, yes, Cloud9, they do have a little bit of a disadvantage in these 5-on-5 fights, like we've been saying. However, that can all go out the window if they get a really good initiation, right? If you get a good angle with Assassins, it only takes a couple seconds to, switch up the numbers, right? If you get an assassination, take someone out at the beginning of that team fight, then it completely flips the script there. So vision control is how you eliminate that from TSM. So TSM trying, that's why they're spending all this time warding around the mid lane. So you see all these wards just explode over all of the objectives that they're going for. They don't want Cloud9 to sneak into the fog of war and catch them by surprise.
Looks like it's TSM who are able to play with the fog of war. You got the nice spasming Callista Sentinel. Haven't seen that in a while, but you can have it dance in front of Drake as long as you want it to. And Sven gonna get the easy take. It's not as fast or as glamorous as a Kha'Zix kill, but speaking of, it's the Baron attempt right now.
Yeah. Now, what goes along with having a split pushy team here for Cloud9 is there's no one to tank that Baron because Impact is bottom lane, pushing that lane. So any sort of Baron attempt like that, you either have to immediately kill it or immediately pull off of it when the other team finds you there because they cannot get trapped inside that Baron pit. It will be a massacre.
Definitely agree. Jensen able to take down the Sentinel and not even take damage from Baron. Sven tried to do something about it, couldn't make it happen. We just have that holding pattern once again of mismatched team compositions playing different ways in the game, and the mage is getting stronger. Void Staff or Rylai's, not sure which yet for Biofrost, going to be done in the near future. But Leandri's already in there, means he's plenty threatening.
Yeah, Leandri's is... That was one of my favorite buffs that they actually did in the preseason because they nerfed the Rylai's. That nice cost efficiency buff to Leandri's. I get it on, try and get on most AP junglers that you play. It's just very efficient now. Adds a lot of pure power. Plus, still has the tankiness. So, you know, all around more efficient and very, very good pickup for Zyra, who, as we've seen, gets assassinated very quickly. And a tiny bit of health, meaning you live from, you know, an attempted Kha'Zix all-in, could be crucial in getting off another round of spells. Meanwhile, though, again, that vision control that's so important to TSM is costing them bottom lane pressure here. Impact,
be a turret.
Gonna get it.
Oh, so close. Actually can't quite get it here. These boilings gonna be easy to pick off, and you won't get any more pressure just yet, but that is a scant few hundred HP left on the inhib turret. Impact split pushing is working in C9. Still trying to play that style as much as they can.
Definitely still want to play to their advantages here. Meanwhile, TSM, they've got double Guardian Angel. So not only do they have a great front line, but they've got 2 lives. And Svenskeren and Haunter can dive without regard for their own lives right here. They can go full on, track the assassins, and try and keep them off of Bjergsen and Turtle. So Cloud9 definitely don't want to have to go through, 7 people basically. And they're gonna look to assassinate the split pusher once again as Jensen moves bottom.
They got for themselves and knock up on a Haunter, plenty of damage there, but it is a Guardian Angel Malphite. I have to kill him twice. You can see how much he heals at any given time. And the attempt now is on the Baron. Bjergsen and Turtle dropped below half HP, and this Baron is not dying fast. Biofrost getting away with a sliver of health. That's Leander's helping a little bit for you. Burning down, but still. Damage coming through for Sneaky Force and the flash of the Svenskeren, and it still stops the Baron. Meanwhile, the base is being sieged. So, yeah, minus a kill kind of sucks. And in fact, another one comes through. No, that's the Zyra call out. Biofrost did actually finally die. Looks like Smoothie was able to get into that one. So it's a 1-for-1 in kills. And now here comes the re-engage. Chenault onto Sneaky. The chase at a Turtle, forcing the flash away. Bjergsen is low. And actually looks like the ulti was canceled anyway by Rek'Sai and Maokai, so he's not part of that fight after all. And Impact slowly running away. This 2-on-2 is one that Jensen did not want to be a part of.
Oh, good interrupt. Taunt there from Impact, slowed down. Better fish.
Yeah, nicely done, but still, they're trying to wear him down. It's 2 tanks versus 1. And if there's a satchel plant, he's just gone. Even still, he's gone. All right.
Well, no inhibitor was taken, but they did crack open the base. So this split push from Impact has been taking its toll. And the extra kills there over to Cloud9, I'm not too worried about that as people are really starting to fill out anyways here. Let's take a look at how it happened though, as it was a lot of zoning from the Ash Arrow hitting right into another Smoothie ultimate. That bullet time hit all 4 members at the beginning and did a good job of splitting off TSM to the backside. Here's where it went wrong for Cloud9 as Contract's just barely not able to assassinate Biofrost through the exhaust. And then Sneaky and Smoothie are able to chase them off. Again, though, right back at the scene of the crime.
Arrow hits Biofrost. Guess what? Wild Turtle can ult if he needs to. Not going to happen just yet. Contract winning the wings. Honka to lock him up. 6,000 HP on Baron, and the Ren stacks drop. So it's the re-engage. Double stun! Contract! Oh, the catch by the Q for the Maokai, but look at the bullet time! Smoothie just eviscerates the backline. Gets a double kill on the entire lane. And now there's a bit more to be done. Svenskeren low on HP with 5 members of C9 here to take that kill, and he gets into the portal, does jump into the Baron pit, still running out of HP as Haunter dies after Guardian Angel. 5 versus 2 on the map, and the health bars total about 300 HP, so TSM have nothing to do right now as C9 starts the Baron.
What an amazing flank there from Smoothie. Completely annihilates the backline of TSM with that bullet time, and that means that Svenskeren's gonna have to sneak around here if he wants to try and steal Baron. Not going to happen, and he's going to lose GA, and he's going to die after.
And Contract secures the Baron. It was a formality at that point, but that makes it 4 unanswered kills now, plus the Baron picked up, and C9 find the team fight to give a gigantic lead.
What a great move there from Cloud9. Let's look at this, because they make the call to turn on the Maokai teleport. This Maokai is isolated. Yes, he takes a long time to get through, but them all focusing Hanser makes TSM come out of the Baron pit, walk all the way around. Turtle and Biopress are already at half before that ultimate from Smoothie, so they immediately have to go out. Both of them go down to it, and then that's half of TSM's squad. Then it's just clean up here for Cloud9. They're able to section off the tanks, and even though they both have Guardian Angel, there's no damage behind them. TSM's team fight falls apart.
And yeah, Bjergsen as well was pushed out of the fight, took a lot of the bullet time as well, and just gone. And nicely played by C9, and Smoothie gets the MVP of that fight right there. He's the second highest kills in his team. See, the internet makes fun of Marksman in 2017, and you just play him the wrong role. Right? Sneak is 0-2-4. He's to support this game. Smoothie is the true carry here.
Yeah, freak.
Just saying, the team with 2 marksmen is winning. What now, internet?
Can't argue with that math. Well played. All right, let's see about this Dragon, though, because Cloud9, they're continuing with the split strategy. They just have Jensen on top side now with Baron buff. He'll quickly melt through the turret and the inhibitor, so the timing on TSM's shot calling is definitely pressured here. They have to just recall, defend the turret. They're going to give up this Dragon, it looks like, unless they decide to pull Kalista over. Kalista's actually halfway walking over here, so maybe they don't give it up.
Well, Sven does not have flash to get out of the pit. It's a one-way trip as he goes for the steal. Don't know if he really wants to pull that right now. Still waiting around the wings. The flash about 10 seconds away. If they take too long, he's got the exit trip.
He's either solo dying for it, or he's going to try and Prey Seeker steal it.
I would back up.
I would just Prey Seeker.
Not have to die anymore.
Steal it, yeah.
He's not going to get the chance, but there's going to be a knockup anyway here. Impact gets the taunt. It doesn't really matter. Either way, Elder Dragon with 2 stacks total, up to C9.
Yeah. Going for a super low steal like that, especially this late in the game, where not only are you fighting the other person's smite, but the damage on all of the enemy champions is so high, it's even hard for their jungler to actually land that smite. So TSM, they make the call to just try and defend as 5. This buffed up Elder Dragon buff is going to last longer as well here for Cloud9. So
2.5 minutes now. Baron
buff as well as Elder Dragon, and this outer turret should definitely be seeded for TSM and try and fight themselves try and fight C9 inside the base.
There we go. Not a lot of easy pressure onto Bjergsen right now. He's scary enough, but Impact feels a little bit confident. Mid lane tier 2 goes down. Cloud9 continuing to put the pressure on. 8 turrets to 5. Elder Dragon and Baron buff still on for a little while longer. They are good at sieging right now. This turret down to 2/3.
Contract does get stunned. That's going to be an inhibitor going down there for Cloud9. Bullet time!
Sonya's out of Bjergsen. Still gets caught by the shark! And that's the first shutdown. Contracts gets in. Wants a bit more. Wild Turtle running for dear life. Actually, a kill comes through, but another trade in. That's 3 for 1 so far. Cloud9 in complete control. Wild Turtle and Svenskeren have to somehow stand against the 4-man army of Cloud9. 2 inhibitors already down. Into the bot lane they go. Drop Portal to help. And they've got to pull off a minor miracle here. Now comes the attempt for the first turret. That's going to get dropped down. There goes Svenskeren into the front line with a turret at a sliver of HP, but that's the kill coming through anyway for Sneaky. His first second of the game, I should say, as Wild Turtle is running and running and running and not doing enough damage. So the Nexus is next to fall, and Cloud9 are going to take the first game win of the 2017 North American LCS season. But of course, we play best of 3s. There's still a chance to fire back.
Exactly. This series is not over. By no means here is TSM done. We get to see another game at least here in this best of 3. And man, that was an extremely exciting way to start out the North American LCS. We may have underestimated the team fighting of Misfortune here later in the game, because that was a really good, fight-turning ultimate from Smoothie on that Baron attempt from TSM. Another interesting stat here as we go over post-game. Sneaky had the most damage done to champions that game, and Wild Turtle had the least of all 10 players, less than both supports.
Oh, wow, that is rough if that was the case. Now we got the number in midway through the game when Sneaky was number 1. I wasn't able to pull up the stats at the post game myself, but certainly a very interesting game to watch. A lot of cool things happened. You saw C9 look really good in the bot lane. They had a cumulative like 400 gold lead by the early laning phase.
On cooldown, double
Arrows.
ultimate. They got a summoner out every time that they pulled that off. You know, and the only way around that is dodging that arrow. And it's difficult, right? You have to have a minion there to throw out your auto, and you have to be ready to hop, you know, to the side. Super, super, super difficult. And yeah, Cloud9 bottom lane definitely took its toll, eventually resulting in a first blood for the jungler.
Yeah, you're right. Contacts came through. Thankfully for Smoothie, he got the assist by doing damage in the last 15. So he got to feel good about the 200 gold surge in his own pockets. But either way, it was a super close game. TSM definitely had a chance to win it, but it was C9 making it happen in the end. But now, from our on that win, let's hand it over the Dash and Azale.
Thank you very much, Freak. It feels good to be back here in the studio. And what a game one to start off the 2017 season here, because relatively close, both teams with opportunities to win. However, ultimately, Cloud9 coming out on top.
I loved it, man. It's a Clash of the Titans. It showcases pick and ban. It's two diverse strategies, and both teams did look pretty solid in their opener.
Well, you mentioned pick ban, and I know you and Jat were talking about this at the beginning of the day. We've got our 10 ban system, so let's go ahead and take a look at how this worked out for these teams. We saw different strategies coming out of each of them, especially when we moved to that phase 2 portion.
Yeah, totally, and that's really where you have to be able to adapt, and you try to disrupt your opponent's drafts, right? So C9 did not take a top laner in the first round. That's something that they gave up to take that Fizz, and that meant TSM's going to target the top lane. They put 2 bans there. We also saw C9 target Wild Turtle. They put 2 bans on the AD carry because they already had the Ashe, and they're able to kind of secure that lane for themselves.
Right, and this is what's going to make the entire season interesting, is how the teams kind of adapt to the ability to pinch in that second phase of the game. And as you mentioned, with the Fizz coming in, might start to make hybrid picks a lot more interesting in terms of protecting your team from that second ban phase.
It's massive. I mean, if you look at champions like Ziggs, can go bot lane or mid, Malzahar, support or mid, Nautilus, support, top lane. These are things you put that Ziggs into the first round, and you could have it go 80 or mid. If the other team tries to ban out your mid laner, you just put that mid, and then you have no bans on your AD carry. You kind of are free to pick there. So flex picks, I think, are rising a lot in priority. And while Fizz could have gone top lane, it was more likely it was going to go mid.
Right. Now, of course, if we move into the game itself with these picks, I want to talk about one player in particular, Contracts. Rookie split, his debut here on the Kazakhs, comes out with the win. What was your first impressions of his game?
I think he looked good. I mean, one of the big things people talk about, stage jitters, right? People play too safe in their early debut. How's this for safe? Solo kill on Bjergsen. No hesitation, goes right in. His team was not there to back him up. He knows his limits. He played the champion really, really well. And I think you have to have a confidence, especially when you're going in on an assassin. You can't hesitate. When there's an opportunity, you must go for the assassination. And he was able to do it.
Yeah, we saw that throughout the game. I mean, later in the game in the top lane, going in for a double kill, being very responsive to the moves that his teammates are making. Of course, that doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement from him here in week 1, but high expectations. So far, he's beginning to meet those. We'll see what kind of adjustments TSM makes in game 2 to challenge him a little bit more. You see Cloud9 on your screens here. And, you know, as they pulled out the victory, I want to take a look at the one big fight that kind of gave it to him. The second Baron fight of the game, 35 minutes into the game here. Let's go ahead and roll this one out.
Yeah, I mean, this one was massive, and it was forced by the fact that C9 had all this split pressure. And there it is. Sneaky had been on point all game with his arrows. They know they wanted to contest this, and they're able to start off the fight. Haunter TP's in, but all of C9 was able to collapse. And when Bjergsen landed that stun, TSM says go, and they baited themselves kind of into this perfect ultimate from Smoothie, who had amazing positioning, did not go back around the red buff to his team, and he won that fight solo pretty much with that ultimate. It was incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Player of the fight goes to Smoothie here. Player of the game, though, going to go to Jensen, who put up a monstrous performance on this Fizz. I mean, the score line, deathless. We definitely saw it in the battle of those 2 Danish mid laners. Jensen came out on top. Of course, he was aided by an early gank there from Contracts to blow both summoners out of Bjergsen.
Yeah, I mean, Contracts and Jensen paired up well, and it was also Impact and Jensen, right? 1-3-1, pairing up to take down the Maokai multiple times, cracking open those inhibitors, and I think it was a great early performance for Jensen and a worthy player of the game.
Again, only one game into the season, but for Cloud9, where we were looking at that, jungle mid duo between Jensen and Meteos and not always hitting the mark, this time around with contracts, look to be in sync for the most part. Now the question is, TSM, defending champions, they've lost game 1. How do they bounce back here? Adjustments in pick ban with this more, elastic ban phase that we have.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely interesting because while the laning phase went kind of poorly for Wild Turtle and Biofrost, they were actually pretty darn effective throughout the game. Wild Turtle came out with a pretty interesting build, the Essence Reaver Death Stance on Callista, something we hadn't seen. But, I mean, it's tough because Bjergsen was not a big factor in this game. And how often can you really say that, right?
So, rare.
Like, does TSM really have to change something up, or can they just rely on their star to kind of bounce back in game 2? And I think that their composition was fine. I think that C9 made better decisions in the key moments and simply outplayed them, kind of. And I think that C9 won't always do that, right? Bjergsen is going to have his games. He's going to get his shots in, so TSM, I don't think, has too much to worry about.
I mean, we still saw moments of the old TSM where they're making rotations out of the mid lane up to the top lane, getting a free turret, for example. And so there's definitely still those elements of what were the championship team. For whatever reason, they did not come together here. Of course, we saw that focusing on Bjergsen, and if you're going to handicap the best player on TSM, then TSM is going to have to start finding a way to work around that. Does Hanser have the ability to carry? Does Wild Turtle have the ability to carry with Doublelift now out of the lineup?
Yeah, and without that shot calling, right? And I mean, Jensen got a lot of help from ganks. He also got a lot of help from Sneaky. Even though some of those Ashe arrows weren't hitting, the constant pressure of that Ashe, it was something that was, definitely Bjergsen had to be scared of that. And that's one of the things you really give up if you do not draft your AD carry first round. You're not going to get the Ashe. You're not going to get the Jhin, those supportive AD carries who really can kind of make those rotations mid and help out your mid laner.
All right, well, that's just game 1. Now, before we jump into the next game of the series, we have to take a quick break, but we'll see you back here for game 2 between Cloud9 and TSM when we return.
Contracts, you know the ritual?
You know the ritual?
What's the ritual? For getting in the lobby, we just, you spam your spot to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just do that at the same time, so we're like flying in.
Yeah. Enemy team shit their pants.
Yeah. We spook them.
And Smithy's up 100 over Biofrost. So the golden, look at that contracts! He's gonna get him first blood! He's got flash available. He's trying to get over the wall, not gonna get the chance to. The final bit of damage comes through. Impact with the kill credit. Now Bjergsen found out by contracts. Exhaust be damned, the solo kill! 1,000, 2,000 health left on there. And here comes the attack! He's gonna get a fence here, and amidst the random, the spikes coming through. Another kill comes through actually for Jensen, takes out Wild Turtle. Contracts in the mix.
Enemy fish? No, they didn't finish. They're not finished. I'm talking.
I healed you, contract.
I'm okay.
Cloud9 are going to take the first game win of the 2017 North American LCS season.